Hello, welcome to the Opinionistics. I'm your host, John Malone. In this episode, no co-hosts, because reasons, as always. Introducing from Kansas City, Missouri, Bill Abernathy.
Good evening. How are we doing tonight, man?
Fabulous.
Good deal, good deal. It's I've had a great day today here in Kansas City. We had some beautiful weather, and I spent a good portion of the day out hiking with my dog. So it's been a very chill, very nice afternoon for me today.
Wow, fabulous. What do you do for a living, Bill?
Okay. Um, I've had actually two careers. So I did the corporate world for a long time, like 43 and a half years, working in global supply chains and a little bit of technology involved in that. I retired from that about 3 years ago, and now I've picked up music again. I did music in my youth and decided, you know what, let's try it again and see what happens. And so far, we've done well. We put out 5 albums and have developed a pretty good following across the world, millions of streams, that kind of thing. So, in my second career is what I'm doing now. So, yeah, I'm a singer-songwriter guy from good old Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, very nice. And what led you to that career path?
Well, when I was young, money, money. So when I was young, I traveled and toured and played and did all that. And uh, as you know, making it in the music world is a little bit rough. The lifestyle, especially when you're 19, which is what I was when I was doing music, tends to take you down paths that maybe you shouldn't go. And the lifestyle was a little rough on me. And at one point, I just decided, okay, that's enough. I need to kind of do a more normal life. So I ended up starting the corporate career and thought that I would stay there really about 6 months. And 43 and a half years later, I retired. But about 10 years ago or so, I was at a party and ran into some old friends from the music world. And they asked me if I was doing anything. And, if you're a musician, you're always doing a little bit of something. And I'd written a few songs and done a few things, and they said, well, let's go in the studio and record them and just see what they're like. And so into the studio we went. We made a really acoustic, very acoustic album. And one of the songs on it got picked up by a bunch of radio stations, won some songwriting awards, that kind of thing. And the next thing you know, we're on to album 2 and album 3 and album 4 and album 5. So and now I'm really enjoying it. We're pretty lucky to have a pretty good following around the globe, and quite a few people tend to like to listen to my music, and so I'm pretty happy doing what I do
Nice, very good, very good. Are there any particular music artists that you would like to collaborate with someday?
now. Most of the guys, I'm not young, so most of the guys that I consider to be my idols are either really old or some of them have passed away. So I think that most of the guys that were influential in my musical career are quite a bit older than me. That said, there are a couple of artists out now that I absolutely love. I'm a huge fan of Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters. I love what he does. I think that Dave may be the last rock star, right? Writes his own music, has his own band, does his own thing. Uh, uh, and I love him. I'm also a big fan of John Mayer, who is a great singer-songwriter that's out today. But back in the day, I was the James Taylor, Stephen Stills, Dan Fogelberg, Jackson Brown kind of guy. Those were the guys that really influenced me the most, I think.
Wow, incredible. What was your life like growing up?
Pretty interesting. I was the baby of the family, so my my parents kind of had two families. They had my older sister and brother that are 11 and 9 years older than I, and then they had my sister and I, and my I just went to dinner actually with my older sister. She's 11 years older than me, and I ended up being the baby of the family. And I think really by then my parents were kind of like, "Wow, do we really want to deal with another one of these kids?" And I was kind of a free bird, you know. My brother is the one who introduced me into music. He was 9 years older than me, and so I went around with him and went to all the coffee shops and concerts and that stuff that was going on in Kansas City at the time. And he introduced me kind of really into music, and also into, you know, other things that went on in the 70s. So uh, I was kind of a free bird. You know, I've got a song on this on my latest album that's called "The '70s Were a Little Hard on Me," and it talks a little bit about my inability to remember things. And I don't necessarily think that that's age. I think it may have been it may be a leftover from the lifestyle of the 70s. You know, my memory's not all it could be, and I think that it looking back, you know, the 70s were a little hard on me, man. So yeah.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. What's your favorite kind of dessert?
Well, to be honest with you, I just had it just the other day. I just had a birthday, and a good friend took me out to dinner, and we went to this one particular place that has a very unique and very cool dessert. It's called the chocolate bag, and the bag itself is actually made out of chocolate. And then inside the bag is like chocolate mousse and all kinds of white chocolate mousse and all kinds of different fruit, you know, fresh strawberries and blueberries and raspberries and blackberries and yeah, that's pretty hard to beat, man. That and a cup of coffee, it's about as good as it gets for me.
Hmm. All right then. Would you rather speak all languages or talk to animals?
Honestly, I think I'd rather talk to animals. They have a you know, I have a pup. His name is Worf, and he's kind of my constant companion. And I got him actually during COVID, so we became really close. You know, while we were all locked down and all that, and he and I spent a lot of time together, as I mentioned earlier. You know, we went out hiking today, which is a good thing. But I always wonder what he's thinking. You know, he gives me these looks, and he's like, if I wonder what he's thinking, and you see that with other animals, you know, and particularly with horses. You know, they give you this look, and you go, "What are they thinking?" It would be kind of cool just to know what they're thinking. Most people, you could get a pretty good grasp of what they're thinking just by watching them and observing them, but the animals are not so much. So yeah, I'd like to do the whole talk to the animals thing. I think that'd be cool.
Hmm. Very good. Very nice. What was the strangest dream you had?
So it turned into an album. Excuse me. I had a recurring dream from the time that as long as I can remember, from the time that I was a kid, and I would have it multiple times a week. And the dream was I saw this figure on a bridge, kind of clouded in a haze, right? And you couldn't really make out any kind uh, of her face or her eyes or anything, right? But she was just standing there in this long flowing robe, and she was kind of beckoning me, if you would, to go with her. And as the dream went on over all my life, right, over my whole life, I would go a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further with her, and she eventually the dream took me to a great big house, and in this house were many windows. And as you looked in the windows, you could see different memories and different parts of my life kind of played out like a movie in front of me, right? So you're kind of watching yourself in this movie, and saw all these different events and these different things that had occurred to you over all those years, and kind of brought back, the emotions and the feelings that you were having at the time. Some of the memories were really, like dramatic, and some of them were really good times, and some of them were times that were maybe not so good, like attending my father's funeral, for example. But I had that dream many, many, many times, and I never could figure out who that person was that was leading me through this dream. And eventually I sat down and wrote a song called "Who Are You, Who Am I?" Because I think one of the things that she was trying to show me was who I was, right? To remember all these things and all these episodes of my life that had essentially turned me into the person that I am. And I kind of got the "Who am I" part, but I never could figure out who she was. And so I wrote this song called "Who Are You, Who Am I?" And it did really well and won some awards and did that kind of thing. But the interesting thing was I found out that after I had written the song and had come kind of to grips with the different thoughts and the different ideas that she had led me into, I didn't have the dream anymore, and I've not had it since. So I think that the dream was just trying to get me to understand a little bit more of who I am, and I think that she was like a guide, if you would, some sort of a guide that led me to all these places and helped me to explore and to understand a little bit more about myself. So that's a that's a pretty strange dream, but kind of a cool story goes along with it.
Yeah.
Well, as singer songwriters, we tend to dive into some deeper kind of subjects. It's as Jim Croce says, uh, even though the words come, the word, even though the time was right, all the words just came out wrong. So I have to say, "I love you" in a song, which is a reference to it's a lot easier, at least for me, to sit down and write deeper thoughts and deeper ideas and deeper meanings than it is to share
Yeah.
them vocally. Yeah,
Where do you see yourself 20 years from now?
dead. I'll be dead by then.
Nice.
I'm 66 now, and as I mentioned earlier, I did not live the clean, pristine lifestyle that some did in my youth, and I never really thought that I would make it much past 25, much less, you know, that would be 86 if it was 20 years from now. So, yeah, I don't think that I'll make it that long. I think that I'm not sure that I want to be honest with you. I've had a really cool life, and I've done a lot of cool things, and I'm still enjoying it, and I'm still very active, and able to do the things that I like to do. But it's getting a little harder, man. It's getting a little harder the older that I get. So yeah, 20 years, I don't see me around. I think I will have escaped this realm and moved on to the next and find out what that is.
If you had a song for every time you entered the room, what song would that be?
That is a great question. That is a great question. I've never been asked that before. Um, I think uh, that the song that probably personifies me as much as any is the song that I wrote, actually, a song called Willow Creek. And it talks about who I am and where my music comes from, and where I was raised, and all that, and kind of a reminiscent song. And it was also the first song of mine that I ever got to hear played on the radio. So that was kind of cool. So I think that if I walked into a room and people were just playing my Willow Creek song, I think that would be a good entrance.
Hmm. Yeah, indeed. Would you sleep on the wall or sleep on the ceiling?
In this dimension, right? We're talking about in this dimension when there's gravity and all that. Um,
Hmm.
I would probably more look at like to see the view from the ceiling. I'm one of those guys that I kind of like to take it all in, and like for example, when I go to a restaurant, I always try to sit in the corner with my back to the wall so I can see all the things that are going on in the restaurant and all the different people. I'm a big American football fan, and when I watch those games, I like to be up high so that I can see um, all the movements of the offense and the defense and the strategies that the coaches are using. So yeah, I would be a ceiling guy. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Ah, yes. All right then, that makes sense. And all the floor space you could possibly have.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, sleeping on the ceiling, all the floor space you could possibly imagine.
No. Yeah. Yeah. See what's going on. I think I'm a little bit nosy. So just being able to see the whole picture and see what's going on. I think that would be important to me. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Now you've got me sitting here thinking how I can make that happen.
Ah, okay. Have you ever heard of a drink called banana friche?
I have not. So you're going to have to educate me on this.
Yeah, that's alright. I get that from a lot of people. So, banana friche, it's a banana flavored milkshake slash smoothie kind of, and has all the tingly sensations in the world.
I have not had that, but I'll have to find that now. Where is it a national drink, or where does it come from?
Well, to be honest, all that remains a mystery. We're yet to find out in the next few
Oh,
years or decades.
okay. So that's you've given me something to do in my retirement. All right, to
Oh, okay.
find this drink. All right, yeah, yeah.
Okay, that'll be exciting. What kind of music do you often listen to?
It depends, right? So, like I said, I'm an old singer-songwriter. So if I'm just listening to music, I really don't have it in the background. If I'm listening to music, I'm listening, actively listening to the music and listening to the lyrics and trying to understand what the artists are saying and how they're using their music to enhance their lyrics. It's a thing for me. I really enjoy it. And I'm really not I'm not a guy that likes to go to like bars and that kind of stuff where there's like background music. I have several of my friends and a lot of the people that I record with play in bands that play in different clubs and bars and stuff, and I always go out and support them. But I'm not a big fan of listening to music in those environments because I really like to listen. So if I do have background music on, which I do a lot when I'm writing, it has to not have lyrics because if I start hearing lyrics, then I get lost in trying to figure out what they mean. So I tend to listen to a lot of Native American flute music. No lyrics, very peaceful, very calming, but yet it seems to help me think. So when I'm writing or when I'm working, I will listen to some Native American flute music, and it helps me really find a good center to who I am and what I'm trying to accomplish.
Very good. What app can you not believe someone has not made yet?
Well, I don't know, man. There's a lot of apps, right? There's a lot of apps out there, but I live here in the lovely United States, right? And as you know, the United States is very politically charged, and a lot of hate, strife, and discontent, and and a lot of adults getting on TV and calling each other names and just being silly. Um, what I would like would be an app that just identifies bullshit. You know, this was on the news. This was something that happened today, and just call it bullshit. Just this is just bullshit. There's a lot of fact checkers, and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I would just like for an app to say this happened today, and this is bullshit. So it could be called the bullshit app. There you go. You could code that up, man, and make a lot of money. Right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. I would love to see something like that.
Yeah.
What was the funniest moment you could remember?
Wow. Wow. You're stretching me, man. You're making an old dude. You're making an old dude think. I don't know. There's been a lot, right? I remember one particular night. My roommate. We were pretty young, right? And my roommate, uh, best friend. He and I had been best friends forever. He was getting married, right? And we're like 21, right? We're just kids, and we decided that we were going to hold him a bachelor party, right? And so you have all the stuff. You're playing poker. There's lots of libations around and other things, right? But when you have a bachelor party for somebody, one of the things that you're supposed to have is a stripper is one, and secondly, you're supposed to have like porn movies, right? Well, I'm not a fan of porn, but when we were trying to find some of these porn movies, and of course, this was back in the '70s, right? So it wasn't like you could just flip on HBO or something, And so I was working with this guy who loved all this porn stuff, and so I asked him if I could borrow some of his movies to have at this bachelor party. Just play it in the background. It's kind of it's kind of part of the thing. And he allowed me to do that. Well, they were 8 millimeter films, and so you had to have a projector. And he gave me a projector as well, and we couldn't figure out where to project them, right? Because we had the house that I was living in at the time had wallpaper, so we didn't have a screen. But we thought, okay, well, the most logical thing is we will play them on the window shades. The window shades were white, right? And so this worked, and we hooked it all up and had it going. Little did we know that that window shade was well, you could see through it, right? And so we got a knock on the door of one of the police officers asking, could we please take the movies down because it was upsetting the neighbors. That was a moment. That was pretty funny. I was showing porn films to the whole neighborhood, evidently. So
Oh, yes, absolutely. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I'm an outdoor guy. Now I love Kansas City. I think I've been lucky in my life, and I've been all over the world and been to a lot of really really cool places. There's few that I would like to go to yet, but I'll do that. But I really like Kansas City. I think Kansas City is the best little big town in the world. It's big enough that you have all the amenities, but it's not so big, that it's daunting, and people are butt heads and all that. It's pretty good spot. So I like living in Kansas City. That said, if I could pick one place, it would actually be one of two places. So it would either be Banff National Park in Canada, which is one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been, or Zion National Park here in the United States out in Utah. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful places. And in each of those, as the sun rises and sets, they change. And so you can it's like having a huge panoramic view of awesome all day long. So it would be one of those two places, I'm sure.
Wow, I've never thought of it that way.
It's a cool spot. I once
Yeah.
sat I once sat at the top of a hike in Zion, and I may say this wrong, but I think it was called Angel Falls, and it was a full day gig. You know, it took you forever, all day, half day to get up there, and then the other half of the day getting back. So I hiked up there, and I brought in, you know, lunch and stuff, carried it in a backpack, and I was sitting there overlooking all this just awesomeness, this beautiful, beautiful scenery, um, listening to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon on some headphones. It was not a bad day. It was just not a bad day. Excellent.
Fabulous. If you had to lose one of your senses, which would you choose to lose?
If I had to, let me repeat that. If I had to lose one of my fences,
Senses.
oh, my senses. I'm sorry. Uh, yeah, I'm getting old. You know, the ears are going. You know, the whole thing. If I had to lose one of my senses, what would it be? Huh? That's an interesting question. Um, you know, they say that when you lose a particular sense, the other senses are get heightened. You know, they get far more intense. Um, I would say that if I had to lose one, it would probably be sight. I rely on my ears a lot, anyway, and if losing my sight would enable more intricate and more involved hearing of what was going on around me, I think that would be cool. That would be a cool thing. So that's my guess. Sight.
Ah, alright then. If you could travel back in time, which decade would you want to live in?
Well, you know, I've always kind of thought that I was born a little bit out of time anyway, particularly from a musical standpoint, right? So, you know, I was in the '70s, right, with hair bands and that god awful thing they called disco and all that, right? But what I really liked was the music of the late '50s and early '60s, and I always wondered, and I still to this day wonder if I lived in those times, uh, what I would have done differently from a musical standpoint. So, you know, and it was a great time. You know, there was Woodstock, which I actually got to go and visit this summer. I went to the original Woodstock. There was Woodstock, you know, Haight Ashbury, the Summer of Love, you know, all that. I would have liked to experience that. I think that would have been really cool for me. I may not have survived it, but it would have been fun to experience it, right?
Yeah, of course. What is your favorite season?
Fall, without question. Without question. I love the weather in fall. I'm kind of a jacket guy, sweater guy. You know, if the weather is such that you could just, you know, put on a sweatshirt and a light jacket and go outside and be comfortable. That's perfect for me. As a matter of fact, today was one of those odd days in January in Missouri where we had a day like that. Just a sweatshirt and a jacket, and you're in it beautiful, very comfortable. But what I really like about fall and autumn are the colors that Mother Nature changes. John Mayer calls them the colors of a cowboy cliche. So all of that whole palette of different colors, the oranges and the reds and the yellows and the browns, and that to me is beautiful. It's just beautiful. And in the fall, I tend to try to find places to hang out and to be where those colors are prevalent. So without question, that's my favorite. And it's also football season, so it's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is all we have for this episode. It's great having you on, Bill, talking about your brilliant career as a musician and many other things and so much more and everything else. It's been great.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a good conversation. I appreciate it, man.
You're welcome. And until next time, stay opinionated.
Always.